Let's talk about physical and chemical transformations. A physical transformation is any change that you make to a substance that does not change the underlying molecular structure of the material. So, what could we do that falls into that category? Something like a translation or a movement of it in space. If I move a sugar molecule from one place to another, it doesn't change, but it is a physically changed space. It can rotate in space. That would be a physical change. We could even put that sugar into a crystal with a lot of other sugar molecules, or we could break that sugar crystal apart. Those would both be physical changes. If we think about something like water, it's a lot more obvious to see how it might change between the crystalline solid structure of ice and melt into a liquid water. This, again, is a physical change because there's no change in the underlying molecular structure of the water. It's still one oxygen atom attached to two hydrogen atoms. If we think instead about chemical changes, these are transformations in which the molecular structure of the substance is changed from before the reaction happens to after the reaction happens. So this would be anything like combustion, where you're burning some kind of fuel in oxygen and producing gases. Again, thinking about water, now we can't melt or freeze or evaporate or sublimate water, but if we run an electrical current through the water, we can separate the oxygen and the hydrogen atoms into separate oxygen gas and hydrogen gas. This is a chemical change in the water. Let's go through a few examples. First, let's think about frost forming on a plant as the temperature drops on a humid winter night. In this case, water from the air is landing on the surface of the plant and turning into frozen water or ice. So this is a physical transformation because the water's structure is unchanged. Next, let's think about what happens as a cornstalk grows from a seed as it's being watered and fertilized. This involves a bunch of chemical transformations because we're turning the water and the carbon dioxide from the air, or the stored sugars and starches that were in the corn seed, into the corn plant. We're turning carbon dioxide and water into sugars and structural materials, and also oxygen. Third, let's look at what happens when a match ignites. So the phosphorus and the sulfur that's in the match substance is combining with oxygen to produce gases and leave behind an ash. The material is changed from before it struck to after it struck. This is a chemical transformation. Fourth, what's happening to your perspiration as you relax after you jog? So the water that's on your skin is evaporating into the air and turning into water vapor. Again, there's no change in the water's molecular structure. The water stays water. It's just drawing the heat away from your body. So this is a physical transformation, not a chemical transformation. Finally, let's look at some silver as it tarnishes in the air. This is a chemical process where the silver reacts with sulfur to produce that black substance on the surface. This can be undone through electrochemical processes where we add in more electrons into the cutlery, reducing the silver, releasing the sulfur, and again removing that tarnish and making the silver as good as new. Okay, so I hope now you understand the difference between physical changes where the molecular structure does not change and chemical changes where we are interested in changing the underlying molecular structure of the substances.